Welcome to the Short Council. I'm your host, Trev, and with me are the PBD All-Stars. At my left, Vanessa. At my right, Caleb. Both of these All-Stars returning from last season, so welcome back. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
And this week we're taking a look at the season premiere of Season 5 of Game of Thrones. Okay, so let's going to handle this by location. Let's start off number one here at the Capitol.
Okay.
Tywin's dead. People are mourning. I kind of like the idea that everyone kind of showed up just to kind of poke the body a little bit, make sure that he's really, really kicked the bucket.
Oh, well, he was a terrifying legend of a man. I'm sure when everyone heard he was dead, they were like, no? For real? Like, no way. I gotta see this to believe it. You know?
I'm really shocked by, just how, how Cersei was really just acting like she was really deeply hurt and affected by this death. Where even to Jaime, who she's supposed to be like dropping pretenses with, but no, instead she wants to blame him for all of this.
Jaime fucked up. She knows he was the one that let Tyrion out. She asked him, he couldn't deny it because he can't lie to his sister for shit. And so, as far as she's concerned, Jaime has done all of the betraying. Mm-hmm. He didn't escape Catelyn Stark fast enough. He was still wanting to get rid of Sansa, which means he was still loyal to a dead woman at the time. He never believed her about Tyrion, even though she's always hated Tyrion, and he released Tyrion, and now Tyrion killed their father. Like, in her eyes, Jaime's fucked up the most.
He really is her undoing.
He
the little
really
brother.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing to bring up. The prophecy in the beginning. We got to see the prophecy scene, but something that they didn't have in the books, spoilers. In the books, there's another line of the prophecy that I can't remember it verbatim, but the Valkyr, the Targaryen word for Valyrian word for little brother was going to be Cersei's main undoing. But what's interesting was that of the twins, Cersei was born first before Jaime. So is the little brother prophecy talking about Tyrion, or is it actually about Jaime? Jaime undermining Cersei, every decision she's been making, and therefore making her look a crazy bitch and slowly leading to her undoing.
So even then, I wonder to myself, does this scene seem to suggest, sort of seem to suggest to me, that there might have been a curse in action here, that some of the terrible things that have been happening to Cersei throughout her life may in fact be part of a curse. We've consistently seen that blood magic works. Say what you want about it being evil or unnatural in the Game of Thrones universe, but it works. It works. So if, I wonder when she did the tasting of the blood there, if she wasn't actually creating some sort of curse. Because these are some extraordinarily bad things to happen to her, throughout her life.
But at the same time, it's Game of Thrones. Extraordinary bad things happen to literally everybody.
That's true. Could be just happenstance.
In the end, she was just saying, I'll tell you your future, but no one ever likes it. No one ever likes hearing their future.
And speaking of the future, just want to touch on this briefly. Lancel returns here.
Yes.
A member of a group of religious zealots.
Creeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Sparrows. What do we know about the Sparrows, gang?
Well, the Sparrows are extremely devout to the rules of the Seven, which is like they're
Inquisition. Think of the Spanish Inquisition.
Pretty much.
I would equate them to.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
He made a line about forgiveness and justice, but I definitely think there was more of a shine in his eye when he was saying justice. Like, these people, they want to see, the gods' justice enacted more than they want to be devout themselves. That's the impression I got.
So they're
from
kind of a
Lancel
bloodthirsty lot, and it's going to come around.
There was a lot of foreshadowing there too with him talking to Cersei. I have an idea. He's gonna call her out.
Well, he was very open about his crimes.
He was a party to a lot of her worst crimes,
Yep.
So, I mean, he knows about it, and if he's dedicated to justice, as he said, then certainly that's going to come around.
Loose ends.
And as far as...
loose ends.
You already drank yourself across the narrow sea.
In a box. Why stop now?
Because we are talking about the future of our country.
Across the sea, Tyrion and Varys have successfully arrived at Pentos. Not a whole lot really happened there. He's planning on drinking himself to death. He's pretty low right now, Tyrion. Pretty defeated.
Yeah.
And, and it contrasts, too, with Varys, who, also has lost a great deal, lost his position of power and trust and ability in King's Landing. He just kind of had to walk away from it, and he's holding his head a lot higher than Tyrion at this point.
Varys knows how to play the long game. He's alluded to it in the past. What his true intentions are, and he really brought it home in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
This is who I want to see on the throne.
A ruler loved by millions with a powerful army and the right family name.
Good luck finding him.
Who said anything about him?
This is the perfect time for Varys to take Tyrion, someone who's very intelligent, who understands the political system of Westeros, in and out, and give him as a council member to Daenerys. Mm-hmm. That would be the best.
Yeah, before we started filming, you were saying that Tyrion has a great deal of study about dragons under his belt.
And in the
something that Daenerys could really use right about now, from what we've seen in the episode.
Yeah, he was always fascinated with dragons. In the books, they make comment of him reading every book he could get his hands on about dragons, that he actually, when he was a child and they went to King's Landing, would sneak away and go try to look at the dragon skulls and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he's always been into dragons. He has a decent amount of knowledge on dragons. So if he could get to her, he could be literally the one voice that she hopefully would listen to right now, since she's not listening to anybody else.
Right, and Jorah was gone.
No one else is willing to talk to. Exactly. Jorah was the only one who used to really, when she made decisions, question her privately alone and get her to think about her decisions. Everyone else has just been kind of yes men to her. When she gives an order, they all listen.
Well, Dario's kind of evolving out of that now. He seems to be kind of trying to push her into action a little bit here, which is what she needs.
Yes, I'm wondering what his true motives are.
Yeah,
he's a sellsword after all.
He's kind of a surly sort, kind of a mysterious sort. We don't really. I mean, he's a cutthroat. We know he's a cutthroat. He killed the people that he was supposed to be, running the clan with or whatever.
Yeah.
He might have some bad intentions. This might not be necessarily the best advice. Except in this context, I think it is, because at least he's trying to stir her to actually do something. She is trying to, rule from a position of power as just being a queen, but up to this point, she's only been a conqueror. She hasn't ruled over these people. She hasn't had a plan for what was going to come after she ruined the economy of Slaver's Bay.
She had no thought of that. No one advised her on that. Barristan, what's he doing here?
He's just a Kingsguard. And I don't mean to discredit him or anything, but he's not like a political advisor. He's not an economic advisor. He's a Kingsguard. One of the greatest swords that ever lived by many accounts.
He can train her troops, and he's going to keep her protected. He understands
that's
how
where her
battles
values
and
are
armies
going
work.
to be.
But yeah, she doesn't have any strong political advisor. The most she has is Missandei, who understands the different cultures. She needs her,
right.
But now that she's ruling Meereen instead of just conquering it, if she's conquering it and she really doesn't give a shit about their culture, then fucking have the Unsullieds kill all the slave masters. Right. She'll never have an issue again. But that's not what she's did. She's trying to show them mercy. Well, showing them mercy means she's also going to have to accept parts of their culture.
Opening them would show the people of Yunkai and Meereen that you respect their traditions.
I do not respect the tradition of human cockfighting.
It's like she doesn't think that any of these old masters deserve any sugar, so she's just going to use as much vinegar as she pleases. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, she doesn't really have the power or the fear to do it because she's locked up her dragons underground.
She's lost her power. She's lost her claws. What got her the Unsullied?
People weren't afraid of the Unsullied. They were as being like a fearsome group of warriors, but people were afraid of the dragons. Always will be. That's what made her special. Mm-hmm. So, as Dario pointed out to her, and she just gave up so quickly. She goes down to the crypt, just, scary dragons, I can't control these dragons, and she, turns around, 30 seconds in, and has them seal it back up again. And that's the thing, at the beginning of last season, they were hinting that the dragons are getting awfully big now, and she's starting to lose her grip. And once again, she didn't have a plan for how she was going to maintain her control of these dragons, or train these dragons. DreamWorks, I'm not talking about you. But, she didn't have a plan for any of this. And, now, you plant corn, you get corn, and now the corn's ready for harvest. And she doesn't like it very much.
Well, another thing that we never once saw her actually discipline the dragons. We've seen her, she coddled them, she treated them like babies, she said a dragon is not a slave, and she let them do whatever they wanted because they were doing usually what she wanted. But now she's a Marine, she doesn't know what she wants, nothing's working out well, and she can't control her dragons because she can barely control her city. I'm sure that's part of the energy or whatever the dragons were feeding off of her, mostly Drogon, who seems to understand her more wild nature spirits than the other two, which were, more docile for her. But now instead she's pushed them away. When she went down to release them, she didn't even bring any food or anything to be like, look, I'm nice again. She didn't even have anything, no torches. She didn't have anything to protect herself or discipline, because she expected them to just be nice and whatever with her. But
walk right to her like they did before.
Yeah, if you have she was treating them like
dragging
babies when she needs to understand that they're also kind of like pets. If you have a pet that you never once disciplined, and then finally you take something away or you're mean to it, and then it's, mean and angry back, if you don't teach it who's boss, it's going to assume it gets to be boss now. And why wouldn't it? She needs to discipline her dragons.
Meanwhile, in the Vale of Arryn, we see the now continuing education of Robin. Robin still sucks. Robin's always going to suck. We see... We saw Peter Baelish receive a letter that was probably informing him that Tywin had passed. I'm guessing that was the contents of that. But not a lot there in terms of what happened or what we learned this time. We see Peter give Sansa another lesson in being a schemer. This time, today's lesson is misdirection. Told Lord Royce they were going to the Fingers, going somewhere else entirely. Where are they going? We don't know. But what we do know is that they passed painfully close to connecting with Brienne of Tarth and Podrick. It's just in the jewels. Yeah, a lot of pity parties going on this week. Kind of a strange way to start out the season with a series of pity parties.
I can imagine Brienne in a wife beater in boxer shorts, drunk, polishing a gun instead of a sword.
Or eating a whole Ben and Jerry's, just
I'm not a knight.
There was a teenage girl I wanted to babysit, but she didn't want a babysitter. And it's well, what did you think was going to happen?
Whoever said this was going to be easy, Brienne.
Yeah. Why did you think she was just going to walk up with you? Because, you're a woman? Because your armor was shinier?
Unfortunately, I'm disturbed by the notion that perhaps Brienne of Tarth may not be as badass of a character as we were all assuming her to be. She really hasn't followed through on a lot of what she was supposed to. She keeps flitting about, as Cersei said back during the Purple Wedding, from camp to camp, changing with the breeze her loyalties. So it's kind of. I'm starting to wonder if she's worthy of all this praise.
Well, she has her strong morals, but she doesn't have the connections. She's got her fighting skills, but she doesn't, Podrick is we should try going to the Wall. He was the one that suggested they go to the Eyrie in the first place. She's not thinking
she's
smart.
Not really, well, she's not she's not a detective. She's not an investigator. She's a fighter. And a good one at that, but that's not what really is going to be needed to save the Stark girls.
Podrick studied under Tyrion, so he's got...
Hopefully some of that rubbed off on him. Yeah. Just to wrap it up, of course, all the happenings up in the north. King Stannis wants Jon Snow to bring Mance under his wing to to bend the knee and bring all the wildlings in for his army. I don't know how anyone thought this was all going to work out.
No, I can't imagine Stannis wouldn't think that. Mance Raider's pretty much telling him, you don't want us as your warriors. We don't bend a knee. We're not going to listen to you. We're not people that's going to follow you into battle.
Not
you
loyal.
Don't want us.
Not trainable. They're fearsome warriors, but they have no discipline.
Yeah, like, this is a giant wildling army. Yeah, it's an army, technically, but this isn't a fucking army. This is just a bunch of people that needed to get south. They were desperate together, and they accomplished that by, at first they were going to fight, but instead they got captured. But at least they're south of the wall now, and that's what they wanted.
And that's what they wanted.
After that, why should they fight for him more? They don't want to listen to him. They don't want a king. Their plan was to get south of the wall, whether that was climbing up and over any way they had to, or destroying Castle Black.
But it shows another complete lack of foresight. Just like with Daenerys, had no plan for all these things. Mance Raider and his fucking wildlings had no plan for what was going to happen after they got south of the wall. Was that really the end game? Get south of the wall? Well, then what? Do you think that the crows are going to stay on the wall and defend you from the White Walkers, or what did you think was going to happen? And so as much as I knew, and we all knew, that Mance wasn't going to bend the knee, because that's not what they do, wasn't that the most practical and pragmatic decision?
Jon Snow really should have pushed, and I think that he failed. They both have a common enemy in the White Walkers. They have a lot of empty castles. The wildlings command a lot of castles. And Jon should have offered that to Mance. Should have, made some kind of an effort. But again,
a lot of giving up this week. I'm sad. This is a tough decision I have to make.
Man said no. Okay.
Also, all the wildlings banded together to listen to Mance. He was technically their king. They were all going to listen to what he's going to do. Now that he is gone, and the wildlings do all still desperately want to get below the wall, maybe without Mance, they will be more likely to listen to Stannis when he
Some
says,
of them will,
you will
for
work
sure.
Here, you will work
Can you imagine a Fen, though, listening?
Oh.
No. I'm reminded of the episode of Firefly where they were supposed to do the train job for that crime lord, and then one of the crime lord's henchmen, they tell him, listen, we're going to give you the money back, you go back to your boss and tell him that that's it and we're done. And you won't come after us, and we won't come after you. Say, well, I'll chase you down to the, and then they kick him into the thruster of the engine, and he gets all chopped up into little bits. And then they go to the next guy, and then he says, "Oh yeah, sure, no, I'm right on board with you." So I mean, after seeing them burn, Mance alive, how many more leaders of the wildlings are they going to have to burn alive before someone says, "Yeah, maybe this is a pretty good deal, and we ought to take it"?
Yeah.
And that's just it. You expect the leader, the one you elected leader, you expect him to be strong. No one else has to be strong as long as the person you put your faith in was the strongest. And a lot of their army is not even, it's women and children, and they have livestock they brought with them. They brought their livelihoods because they want to live below the wall. They don't want to be controlled, but they don't want to die because of winter. I'm sure there will be plenty of them that are willing to take the black, are willing to do whatever they can to survive.
So do you think that by being willing to be burned alive and not bend the knee, in a way he sort of bought that freedom for the rest of them to potentially end up bending the knee or coming to an agreement with the Southerners?
Make their own decision.
I think
he was a symbolic action of not bending the knee. Now it's up to the individuals to make their choice.
I think he helped buy the respect from Stannis for the wildlings.
Now, the real question I have, though, just to wrap up, and something to think about, and I'd like all of you to take a look and tell us what you think down in the comments below. What sort of ramifications are there going to be for Jon Snow loosing that arrow and putting an end to Mance as he was burning? Is Stannis going to want to have some words over this? What kind of respect has he lost with the rest of the Black Brothers? So tell us what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, we will see you next week for another episode of The Short Council when we take a look at Season 5, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones. Have a great night.
Peanut butter disaster.